Hi, welcome to my weekly live stream show, Co-Design Work with Wonder. I'm June Baya, CEO of BayhaGroup, and we are live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific time on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So a little bit about BayhaGroup. I started BayhaGroup in 2015 to focus work that I care about and to make a positive change in the lives of young people. So we do that as a company by bringing millions of dollars to innovative school districts through grant funding. So at BayhaGroup, our vision is to cultivate a thriving, globally recognized, youth-centered community with a passion for creating a kinder, more just world. And Work Wonder is something that we created last summer thanks to the pandemic. It's a virtual internship where youth are paid to gain workplace intelligence, which is integral to their hero's journey in their chosen work. What we mean by WQ, workplace intelligence, is that it includes embracing positivity and curiosity for change, being an active listener of diverse voices, being motivated and being self-motivated, and welcoming failure as a means for growth, among other components that we consider to be workplace intelligence. So the Work Wonder vision is that we want to inspire millions of brave youth to discover and own their voice, advocate for themselves and others, and thrive in their chosen work. So this live stream, Co-Design Work with Wonder, is a part of Work Wonder. This show is run by a team of our co-designer interns. 11 of them are seniors in high school, and 2 of them are sophomores in college. So our intention with this live stream is to bring guests who help demystify the world of work by sharing their career journey and insights as professionals in their industry. So today, our show is going to focus on the future of computing and XR, which I had to look up, is extended reality. My guest today is Steve Lukas. So Steve is Director of Product Management, XR Ecosystem at Qualcomm. He's formerly with the developer relations team at Magic Leap, and he's also founded Across Realities and developed the app Spatiate that allows 3D drawing within the real world using mixed reality technology. And for a short time, Steve was my business partner for another 3D drawing app, Spatianary. So I'm going to bring Steve on. Hi, Steve.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks so much for joining me today. Let's start by, could you share a little about your career journey?
Ooh, yeah, I'll try to keep it short because it's pretty long. But in my early days, I was really interested in creating. And so I actually started my career with an art degree and then started blending in technology into it and got a master's in computer science, which took me through a journey of game development at Sony Online, then some mobile app development, some startup work, and ultimately arriving at Qualcomm, where I worked in an evangelism group, which got me into product management, and then a career in Qualcomm Ventures doing tech diligence for that investment group. While I was there, I looked at AR and VR investments in the United States for over 3 years, at which point I left and founded my own AR VR startup company, and then went into Magic Leap developer relations after that for 2.5 years. And now I'm back at Qualcomm working in the XR business unit.
So XR. So Steve, what is XR?
XR is a bit of a blanket term that covers virtual and augmented reality. It's defined in some places as extended reality. In some cases, it's referred to with the X being a variable because you could replace that X with a V or with an A or with an M for mixed reality. And there's other terms that haven't quite been given an umbrella blanket covering over the entire industry, where we're looking at this immersive space, also known as immersive media, also known as spatial computing. But just if you think of virtual reality and augmented reality, then, and all of the variants around it, including 360 video, then you can just think of it as XR for short.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And I learned so much about AR, VR because of us hanging out together. So I'm curious with folks that may not know a whole lot about AR, VR, XR. So could you give us sort of just an overview for someone who might not know what these terms mean?
Sure, sure. AR, VR technology is something that I'm sure, even if certain people haven't tried it, everyone has touched it in some way or seen it in some fashion. It's been around for decades in various forms. But what it is it's almost like a deflattening of media, where currently we observe the real world with our two eyes and with full depth. As just we walk around, we have a very spatial understanding of the world. But when we flatten that into photos and videos to create representations of the world, then you see what's essentially a rendered image on like a TV or on your phone or your computer or a printed piece of paper. And so VR and AR are ultimately a return to taking that recorded media and bringing it back out into the spatial world around us through a series of technologies. And one that many are likely familiar with are 3D glasses. And so this isn't VR AR, but it's kind of the bridge between flat media and VR AR, where that a lot of people have an understanding of. If you go to the movies and you put on 3D glasses, then even though you're staring at a flat screen, you get a sense of depth of where some creatures or characters are in front of others, or you might see debris or something flying at your face, and you have this sense that it's coming closer to you. And even though you know you're staring at a flat screen, just the way it's presented and filtered through your eyes simulates that depth that we have naturally through a series of depth cues. Now with VR and AR technology, what we're doing is taking that even further, and instead of just staring at a screen, then it's immersing our vision with and flooding it with these images. And also beyond images, there's also audio and then other features that make it feel more real. So with virtual reality, then essentially covers your eyes and gives you a complete experience inside a headset. And with augmented reality, then there's still a blending of the real world and the digital content. So that can take the form of a headset that's like transparent, like a Magic Leap or a HoloLens. That can be done in another fashion using a phone, where you hold your phone up and you'll see a camera feed of the world, but then you might see augmented technology as well, where you move your phone around and it feels like that digital content is there in the real world. So that's a general idea of what this AR VR technology is, without many visuals to present it.
Right. I mean, the stuff that was exciting when we were working together was what happens when we're trying to share what someone is seeing on the headset, and then what would make it more accessible. For example, in a classroom or out in maybe in a game setting, right, where maybe you can't have 10 headsets, but you have one headset. So if you could say more about what got you excited when you created Spatiate, and then what we did with Stationary.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things is that the VR and AR, when you put it in a headset form, it's a bit of an egocentric experience. It's something that the person in the headset can have a sense of and enjoy and experience, but can't fully convey that to somebody else. And I very much liken it to a dream. If you're in a very vivid dream and you wake up and you turn to a family member and say, "Let me tell you about this amazing dream I had," and you go through all these details because to you it mattered so much, but to them, they're just like, I don't get it because I wasn't there. I don't have that any sense of what you saw, what you heard, what you felt. And they'll nod and say, oh, that's cool. But in their head, they're really like, I don't care. And you know that when someone does the same to you and tells you about their dream and you sit through it, you're like, yeah, I just don't connect, and it didn't really happen. And in much the same way, that is the risk of when you take off a VR headset or AR headset and try to explain what happened to somebody, even if they know the experience, they weren't there with you. So it's just like, okay, that's what you experienced. Cool. But then to really make that resonate and have that experience live beyond your memories, then if you can bring somebody else in, and like if you're in a multiplayer VR application or multiplayer AR application, you bring someone else in and you experience it together, then you can talk about it. Then your memory is a shared memory with someone else, and that's what makes it real. And one of the challenges is, of course, that VR and AR headsets are still not necessarily at price points that anyone will just easily buy one. So especially back in 2016 when VR first started taking off, then there was about the price points of $600 to $800 were about the barrier of entry. So having multiplayer meant you need to buy more than one headset, and that's very cost prohibitive. So I was looking at solutions of how do you bring other people into an experience where it's very pricey to come in with one headset. And so I started exploring with my startup the crossover between mobile and headset, where they could share the same world together, and you could use a phone to as a spectator into the experience that someone else was having in a headset. And that way you could see what your friend was doing, but also see the content they were experiencing. So instead of just a video of them just flailing their arms around, you actually see what they're interacting with, and you get a better sense of what is happening. And if they say, did you see when I pet the virtual dog and then the way it almost bit my hand? And then people can say, yes, I saw that. And I was there with you and I experienced this together with you. And where that leads for me is this concept that where we're going with AR, VR technology is if we can all share a same space together and share an experience together, then we really have the power to manufacture reality out of nothing. And that's like really where the magic happens, because then if you can, you know this phrase, if you can dream it, you can do it. And with AR, VR, that is actually possible.
So I'm also curious, and I feel like we have a number of interns who are watching, and so they came up with this question, which is, so what is some advice you would give to youth who are interested in this technology and possibly in careers?
Yes, absolutely. The thing about this technology is there's a number of people that are interested in it, and for a time there's a lack of hardware available for people to use. But over the years, then Google handed out a bunch of Google Cardboard units, and the pace of this technology means you're going to be getting more and more headsets coming out, and older technology is going to be displaced by the upgrades. But then that technology still exists, and you're going to find it in schools and in some cases on eBay and secondhand stores. But if you're connected to people that have access to this technology, they're likely upgrading, especially if they're working in the field. They're likely going through a lot of upgrades where there is the older technology available. And even though there is newer, better, faster, then if you're in the learning process, then it's probably the most economical to find access to a device, and whether it's Google Cardboard, where you just stick your phone into a piece of cardboard and with some lenses in there, and then you start experiencing what is it like to replace the real world with this artificial world. And if you don't have access to that hardware and you have a phone that's from around 2016 or later, you likely have the ability to do augmented reality with your phone. And that's using what technology is known as AR Kit on the iPhone or AR Core on the Android. And what I say is that you really, if you want to get in this space, start to learn it from the inside as much as you can. Because that's really where, what I say what happens is that you unlock this piece of your brain that starts thinking, well, once I know what it's like to have this technology available, what can we do with it? Like, where exactly does it go? And I've said before that one of the benefits of this technology, one of the biggest ones, is that anything goes. You can really recreate just about anything. But that also is a detriment, because then you'll encounter people with ideas that are all over the place that either are not the best use of the technology or are not the best business use of the technology, or are not something that the current limitations of the technology can accommodate. So the more you spend time in it, the more you realize things, like if you're looking at AR technology in a transparent headset, then you go outside into the bright sun, you'll notice that all the projection gets washed out as if you're taking a projector outside. And so you can say, all right, you know what? This is now bound by the limitations of indoors, is best where it's used. So I'd say first, play with technology, even if you're not a coder, right? If you're not doing software development, download as many free apps as you can, and just spend time going through them and seeing what you like and what you don't. And start thinking, what do I want to use this technology for? And even if it's not something you yourself will build, it would be helpful to influence it if you went into a business group, or if you went into a product group or design group, then you would already have a better sense of where the space is going and what types of products would be best usable in this space.
That's really helpful. So really just play around with the technology, see what it's like, see what you like, see what you don't like, and then just have some opinions about it, it sounds like.
Right. And if you can get your hands on one that's a headset, that's even better. Like, because then that's where your brain starts really unlocking and thinking, okay, why would I put this thing on my head, and why wouldn't I, right? Because in some cases, I see a lot of ideas come out that say, oh, this is a good use of VR HMD, a head-mounted display, or for an AR HMD, and then I look at it and I say, well, why couldn't you just do that with your phone? In some cases, the phone's better and easier, because if you just want to track someone's movements, or like be able to like check like Google traffic right now, right? Then you being able to see how many people are on the freeway you're going on, then that's something that you would never do in a headset. You would utilize people's phones, for example, for tracking, and like Waze is one of those examples. So where do you scale it back and say a phone is still the best use for this use case, but a headset is really where this use case comes in?
We have another question from our interns. So they want to know from your perspective how AR VR technology can positively influence the world.
Right. So there's a number of use cases that we can use with AR VR technology, and in terms of positive influence, then one use case that goes around a lot is what they call the empathy machine, where you can experience what it's like to live a different life, to be in a different environment, to understand a greater sense of what it's like to be in another part of the world, and what people who grow up there experience. And I know that one's a bit overused, but being able to embody another experience can really make you more worldly, and allow you to understand what what some of the different challenges there are, and that's not even just culturally, but even if you want to do like a training scenario and know what it's like to be a specific type of person at the workplace, right? Then that's there was Myra Laldine is one that is an individual who's been doing a lot of work in this space with her startup, and I went through that experience at one of the Oculus Connect conferences, where you experience all these different microaggressions in the workplace, and you start to think, what if I'm on the other side of that and causing these things to people? Now that's how it would be received. And so there's a lot of just the idea of human understanding, but again, knowing where you are, knowing what an experience would be like, starts giving you more trained muscle memory, where I can watch training videos on YouTube on a 2D screen all day, but if I want to be going through an experience where I'm learning how to operate at a power plant or some other manufacturing facility, for me to be able to get a sense of space and how far away all the machines are, and what to do when a machine breaks down, or where everything is in relative location to me, it sinks in even more using techniques like called a memory palace, where you're not just watching it on a screen, you're feeling the full emotion of and memory of the training from when you looked left and looked right, and what was all around you, what you were hearing, and all of that helps sink in, just all of that training even deeper. And then when you go on the job, then you're already remembering, oh yeah, I've been through this before. I did the same thing with this house that I'm living in right now. I actually did a remodel on the computer. And this one it wasn't even in VR AR, but this was just using the game engine, and which powers VR and AR. When my kids walked into this house for the first time, they said, I know where everything is, because they already experienced it before. And so that's something that VR and AR can lend itself to. It's simulating reality. We're actually recreating, we can recreate the real world as well as recreate artificial worlds.
That's pretty exciting. So our last question is from Marcella. She wants to know, so what do you hope to accomplish with future projects, or what are some of your future goals with this?
Thanks, Marcella. For me, what I've seen this technology for over 7 years. My first experience with it was in January of 2014 when I saw Oculus Rift, the VR headset. And my first experience with AR technology was August of that same year in 2014, when I first saw the Magic Leap early prototypes. And it was so amazing to me that, and we as at Qualcomm Ventures, we invested in Magic Leap. And what I started thinking about at that time, I said, this vision, this dream is an indeterminate future. It's some point in time in the future, but we don't know when. How do we get from here to there? And so I've spent the last over 7 years doing what I could I understand what those gaps were and how we get there, and really how to get this technology here faster. Because when I first put people into VR, and then when I first put them into AR with the headset, then I see that joy, that wonder, that understanding, and then that hope of like, oh, if we could only do X, Y, or Z in this headset, then it would be so amazing. And I've experienced some things that very few have experienced, where you put on these headsets, and I still refer back to this one night that I had a party in my house, but it was 12 people that were from all over the world, from Brazil, New York, and California, and Texas, and they were all physically present inside my house. I was able to walk around, sit on the couch, have drinks with them, and we were all talking, laughing, having fun, creating digital content. And then when the party was over, they all left and they just disappeared. And I didn't have anything to clean up. And I didn't have to drive home. Everyone was just back in their comfort of their own place. And yet we all had this really magical experience together. So what inspires me, what I'm excited about, is being able to get this technology to as many people as possible. And that's why I chose to come back to where I'm at right now at Qualcomm, is because there's such a wide reach of impact that can be made here, because the Qualcomm technology is inside powering a number of these types of devices, and arguably the greatest number of devices if you add them all up. Then that's what drives me right now. I want to get this to everybody who's listening right now and saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I want you to know what I'm talking about. And I want you to be able to do it for a very economical price. And I want you to be able to do this with all your friends and family at very economical prices.
Exactly. So I have to ask, that party that you described, was that before the pandemic?
That was before the pandemic even. Yes. But we've had similar ones since then. Not as vast, but yeah.
Right. But I mean, even more so, right? Because I think it's curious that you had this party before the pandemic, and now it's even more relevant, right? To be able to have that kind of, that feeling of being together without having to leave your home when we're, doing this virtually for so many different contexts. And so I have to say, Steve was a person who put a headset on me, and it was at his house, and we were in his garage, and my husband and I just nerded out with just like, I don't even remember what we were playing. And it was just so amazing. And definitely that planted seeds enough that we wanted to invest in creating a game together. And so Steve, I'm so grateful that we have you on as our guest today. And then just knowing more about what's going to be happening with this AR, VR, XR, and so definitely we're going to, have you come visit more interns with us. And if you would be willing to share your story with our other interns as we launch our summer internship. So you've always been so supportive of us. So thank you, Steve. Thanks for being here today.
For sure. If anyone wants to actually see the things I'm talking about, then if you go to my Twitter at Lukas, which is on the feed right now, if you go to my pinned tweet, as long as it stays up there for a while, then I have multiple threads all linked up together with a lot of videos that show the work that I've been doing for the last several years.
Yeah, it's amazing work. It's so fun. And again, thanks to Steve, we have access to some headsets. And actually for our summer internship, we do have AR, VR, and we are offering Oculus headsets to those who are doing the deep dive in that one with augmented and virtual reality. So, all right, I'm going to share that next week we will be back. And our next week's guest is Joyce Yamaguchi. She is my former high school teacher, someone who has been running the College Admissions Academy, helping our interns with their personal insight questions for getting accepted to the UCs. And so this year, we're really proud to say that the students that she worked with, who are also our interns, 100% of them got accepted to at least one UC. So we're going to be having her come and join the show next week. So thanks, everyone, for joining us. Thanks, Steve, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
This was great.